Firstly, yeah, how are you and how are you finding lockdown life? And you were teaching as recently as last week, is that right?
Yeah, so I was teaching up to last week, and luckily our Easter holidays started last week. So we only had a week of home teaching and Google Classrooming, basically. So now I'm just on school holidays, essentially, but from home.
Yeah. Nice. And are you still managing to train?
Yeah, so my S&C coaches have set all the home programs. So I have like bands and then like rugby ball, football, tennis balls, just basically most of it is body weight stuff. So I have a full program to do, which is really good because it actually sets my time out. Whereas if I just wake up every day and decide what I'm going to do, I'd be hell. So I have a plan for each day, what I need to do, which is quite good. And then obviously different types of sessions. So I'm not just doing loads of press ups because essentially that's all you really think you can do with upper body, but there's actually loads you can do.
Yeah, so are you getting like one session sort of sent through from your Wasps S&C coach and then another one from the England side?
A mixture. So Wasps have set as things to do, and we also have like Wasp Zoom calls, which is really cool. So we do quiz nights on a Tuesday and home workout on a Thursday. So it's really funny though. We changed the screen so you can see everybody. So we were working out, watching everybody else work out, and it was bizarre, but it was really funny.
Yeah, so you've had lots of communications with your Wasps teammates and like different challenges and stuff.
Yeah. There's one last week was one with a tennis ball that you'd throw it basically 100 times, but given different variations. And this week she's thrown in 2 tennis balls, but it's basically juggling against a wall. But our tennis balls are differently have different bounces. So one flies at you really fast, and the other one drops. It's just awful. And then we have some, and then she sends us these apps that we have to download that are like developing your right and left brain. And there's one more this week, and she's going to shout at me for not remembering what it is. Sure. There was one more challenge that we had to do, but so each week we had a different set of challenges, essentially.
Nice. Well, what are your reflections overall on England's campaign?
We were challenged in every single game. Each team gave us a different challenge, and I think we did really well to adapt in each game to make it that makes sense, like on the pitch rather than just letting it all happen.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know there was Simon Middleton talked quite a lot about the second half of the Ireland game and the fact that he wasn't and you as a team weren't as happy with the second half as perhaps you might have been, but that's credit to Ireland's defence.
Yeah, they changed their line speed just drastically. It's like they were sitting off in the first half so that we could attack them. Second half, they put us under so much line speed and we didn't adapt. And then we took a massive learning from that, which is really good because we then went into the Wales game really wanting to push and basically be able to play on the line rather than sitting back and getting the ball. And credit to Ireland. And then they also stopped kicking the ball back to us when they were in their 22 and running the ball out, whereas we in the first half they kicked back to us, so we got the ball back and got possession to play with, whereas we shouldn't have the ball in the second half.
Okay, interesting. And I guess from obviously there's a lot of talk going on at the moment with different with the Six Nations and the fact that France and England are only really the two teams that could conceivably win the tournament. So what was your experience like of playing out in France coming off the bench?
Oh God, it seems so long ago now. I remember thinking how well everybody was playing because they were under so much pressure. It was like a continuous, like just wave and after wave after wave, whether it was an attack or defense. Like the hits were huge. So I remember just thinking, I can understand if I don't go on this pitch because the back five, all the second row and back row players were playing so well. And then getting on was really cool, but essentially it was just a matter of keep the ball because we were winning and we had 10 minutes to play out the game. So we just wanted to keep the ball safe. So
yeah, okay. And just going on to your comeback here, so were you nervous before making your first appearance? I think since the Rugby World Cup 2017 World Cup Final. I mean, how are your feelings and emotions?
I don't really know. I was more scared that I wasn't going to be put on the pitch because I'd come back and played like 180 minutes or a few games up until October, and then the meniscus went in my knee, so I was out for another 8 or 9 weeks. I'd almost overcome that fear of getting re-injured because I had been re-injured, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So then it was just a matter of, okay, I know that I can play. It'll just be when I play. I think if I was starting, I would have been a bundle of nerves and been in a horrific place. But because I was on the bench, it's like a different mentality.
Yeah. Okay, cool. And so what do you think you've learned? So it was 22 months you spent out, like you said, you did your meniscus again, so you had another kind of injury stint
Yeah.
on the sidelines. But what do you feel like when you reflect on it, what do you feel like you learned as a player and as a person about yourself?
Oh, I don't know. No, I
Resilience?
know I learned but I learned how to enjoy being in the gym. I think
Yeah.
I've said this a few times, but I was known as the player that would go to the gym because I was told it'll make me better playing rugby. So I was always just wanting to play rugby and play teams games.
Yeah.
Also the importance of it as well, and also that I know more than I thought I knew, especially because I did some coaching, analysis, and stuff like that. So off the pitch stuff improved a lot, and just I never viewed it as like a big, oh my god, I'm going to be out for this long. So obviously the first injury, then 6 months later the ACL went again. So it was never like a sat down saying you're going to be out for this long. It was almost like you're going to be out for 9 months. Okay, 6 months into it. Okay, so now you're going to be out for another year. Okay, so now you're going to be out for a bit longer. Does that make sense? No. So
Yeah. So, okay. So, did you ever think, like you said, you kind of had so did you have markers as you were going along, like, this is where I want to be at this stage, this is where I want to be at this stage?
yeah, the first time I did, and then the second time. After the first stop, I had certain markers that I wanted to hit, and then I think I was ignoring signs that there was something wrong because it was about 3 or 4 weeks into it, and before I redid my ACL, I just felt uncomfortable with things, and in hindsight, I definitely ignored all those signals. Whereas the second time, I was a lot more hands-on down at Wasps, so there was a lot more, okay, well, we're going to shepherd you through this type thing. And I went into the running school, movement school down at Twyford, and he basically set the markers without telling me. So it was good because he just kept saying, okay, now let's do this, now let's do this. And I didn't know, say, that I was going to jump for the first time. It was just like a natural progression.
Yeah.
And the only marks I really set was that I wanted to play the preseason game against Richmond. And then I did get back to that one. And then after my meniscus, I basically said I want to come back after, I think it was 8 weeks. I said I wanted to be back playing, and Giselle refused and said, I'll give you the week after. So because it was meant to be a 12-week injury, and she said, you're not coming back after 8 weeks.
Okay. And was it 3 operations you had?
Yeah, so I had the ACL and then the ACL again, and then just a meniscus, like clear out one, a complex tear. I don't actually understand much of it, but that was what was wrong.
Okay. So and when did you do the ACL the second time? Was that in training?
Yeah, so it was really so. There's loads of ins and outs to why, but I basically bent down to pick up a loose ball. I was just doing some skills, and my knee like ricocheted in, then out. It went in and then rippled out, and then I just fell apart again. So it was obviously for it to go under. There was no pace behind it. There was nothing. It just went. So there was obviously something else going on or wrong.
Okay. And did you ever get? I know I did read this in I think the Telegraph did an interview with you, but there was a stage, wasn't there, where you did think you weren't going to play again?
Yeah. Well, it was more that I was just like, oh my god, I've just spent all these months doing this, and now I'm not. And then I said, well, basically just got me coaching. And I honestly think if I didn't coach for a year, I would have just found something else to do with my life. But because I did the coaching with the development team with Ollie.
Oh yeah.
And that just made me realise how much I enjoy rugby and enjoy the game. Whereas I'd been out of it for an entire year, about 8 months by this point. I'd been out of the game, not really involved in anything. All I'd done is watched rugby, gone down and watched the games, things like that, but not been involved in like the tactical side or the technical side or anything. So Giselle got me back coaching, and it was never spoken of, but in hindsight, I really think I would have struggled to come back into the environment if I'd been out for 2 years.
Yeah. Ridiculous. Okay, and is coaching something that you were involved with beforehand, or is it now something that you think you might do alongside your rugby or after rugby?
No, I'd done my level 2 coaching, but purely that you get these opportunities, so you just kind of like, yeah, sure, I'll do it beforehand. And then I help with Middlesex Rugby, but most of it's just if somebody says, can you do me a favour and help coach, then I'm happy to do it. But I think I don't know, I like teaching. I like playing.
Yeah, it's quite nice. Just finally as well. So obviously you've made your comeback for England, but you are still obviously teaching. And is that something that if a full-time contract was to be offered to you, is that something you'd consider, you'd weigh up the pros and cons?
I've not really thought about it. I think I enjoy teaching because it just gives you a whole different environment to go into, and you realise that messing up a line out isn't actually the end of the world. But you go into teaching kids how to do maths, and you realise that their biggest problem is that they can't do a sum. So it's really nice. It just takes your mind off rugby totally and gives you something else to focus on. I don't really, for my, would you call it mental health? I don't know. For my sanity, I really enjoy teaching just because. So I've been teaching on a Thursday and a Friday, so it's really nice, especially because on a Friday I don't think about rugby up until about 6-7 o'clock at night when I get home, pack my bag, and make sure I know everything I need to know for the next day. Whereas before my first game back, if on a Friday I was thinking all day about playing rugby the next day, I think it would make me stir crazy. So
yeah, no, I completely understand that. What subjects do you teach?
Just maths, so secondary school. So year 7. Currently teach year 7 to year 11, but at my old school I did 6th form too. So.
Oh, nice. Okay. Yeah, I guess it puts it all in perspective. It's like this whole virus thing. It does actually put sport in perspective. So
yeah.
Brilliant. All right. Well, thank you, Harriet. That's all my questions, and it's really interesting to speak to you. I think it's really impressive what you've been through to get to back where you are. So
I think so. This is the thing: is that if you took my 3 years before injuring my knee, I think I missed 1 game for a broken nose, and another game for it wasn't injury. It just I missed a game for it's like a wedding or something like that.
Yeah.
So if you count up all the games I've missed in the last 6 seasons, say, I've probably played the same amount as some other people that have had an injury, 4 injuries, but spaced out. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So that's how I sometimes look at it, being I had 3 or 4 years of pure luck that I never ever had an injury. I annoying niggles. So that's how I also look at it, was that I've kind of banked all my rugby time up and then at the same time.
You just did your time in big chunks.
Yeah, basically, I just thought I want 2 years out now. I'm just going to have a chill rehab for a little bit, go on holiday a little bit,
Yeah. Oh, amazing. All right. Well, I'm going to edit this up and put it out on Women's Rugby Hub channels. But hopefully everything will get back to normal soon, and I'll see you down at Wasps. Hopefully at the beginning of the season.